Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for The Flash Season 1, Episode 4, Going Rogue, and this episode was amazing. I loved it. Definitely best episode of the season so far. And one of the things I definitely loved about this episode was bringing Felicity onto this episode, because Felicity just brought so much life onto this show, definitely. She added a hilarious, she added a lot of humor to it. She gave, Barry some really good advice, and in my opinion, I actually think she works a little bit better with this team than she does Arrow's team. She kind of fits better in here. Her and Barry have a lot more chemistry than her and Oliver, definitely. I would definitely say that, if I had to choose between Barry and Felicity or Felicity and Oliver, I would definitely choose Barry and Felicity. I think that they are very good together. I mean, they work well together. They both like each other, and, that's one of the things I definitely really enjoyed about this episode. I thought it was definitely fantastic. So let's just get to it. So the episode opens with Barry. He's musing about what he does on his day off. Basically, he's not really doing much. He's on his day off. There's no, criminals or anything. He's hanging out at Star Labs, playing games with, Harrison, Caitlin, and Cisco. He's playing chess, with Harrison, and, I thought that was a funny scene to start the episode. So, an armored truck marked with the Blackhawk security logo passes by, and two motorcycles and a tow truck come up on it, and hooking the hoist of the armored truck and stopping it, then knocking out the two guards, all the while they're counting down the seconds. So before they can get away, Barry gets the call, and the Flash rushes in to foil their plans. They get away, though, while Barry helps the driver who had been shot to get to the hospital. So basically, he saved the day, and that was definitely very quickly. That was very quick what happened there. So, Joe and Eddie are called to the scene of the robbery, and Barry shows up late, identifying that there were 4 people involved with the robbery, and that one of the crooks had used liquid nitrogen to crack the hinges on the armored car. So once they're alone, Barry tells Joe that he got a look at one of the guy's faces, and the crooks also didn't get away with anything. They were apparently after the Condog Dynasty Diamond, which is very interesting, that they were after, at the, basically, I was wondering what's the Condog Destiny Diamond. We find out what that is, but, a little bit later, but let's just, back at the police department, Barry reads through the mugshots and finds Leonard Snart, who is our main villain in this episode, whose father is also put in prison. So one of the things I love about this guy, and, he is a vigilante. He's very much a vigilante. He's on a vigilante mission, and he's probably the most menacing villain we have so far. However, he's very much like Barry. His father was put in prison. A dirty cop, used to beat his family. And Joe heads off to try and build a case, and Iris then shows up. Now, Joe is not exactly happy with Iris. He's very frustrated. He gruffly rebuffs her offer of coffee, and, he's kind of ignoring her, and Iris doesn't really know why, and she then focuses on Barry, asking him to see the case file on the armored car robbery, which somebody claims the Streak has foiled. And I really like they're calling him the Streak. They're not calling him the Flash yet. It's too early in the series. It took a while for them to call, Oliver Arrow. For a while, they were just calling him, I don't remember what I think they were calling him, Green Hood or something like that. This is very much like The Flash, which I definitely really enjoyed. And he tells her that he can't share an open case file with her. They argue all the way to the lab where they meet Felicity. Felicity's there, basically. And basically, we see Felicity. She shows up, and at first, he thinks that she's there because maybe something happened between, that her and Oliver need tracked on something. But she says no. She's just there to visit him, and it was a really great way to introduce her, definitely. So then we see Snart and his group, basically Leonard and his group, wondering what went wrong. Or they're going over the footage from the armored car robbery, and Leonard has perfectly timed out the robbery, thinking that the distance from police made them safe. One of his men who tried to shoot a guard before Leonard stopped him tries to quit, and, he shoots him. So he says that the Flash is a man and that they're going to have to up their game. So Felicity and Barry, meanwhile, they're walking through the park. She guilts him a bit about not calling, because as we know, they did have that connection, and they really did like each other, and, she's kind of upset with him for this, so she speeds to the top of a nearby building, snaps a photo of her, and runs back, and her shoes are slightly smoking, and she's disturbed by that. He tells her that he has a frictionless suit for when he's superheroing, and offers to show her where he got it. And they just have so much chemistry in the scene already. Definitely you can tell they have so much chemistry in the show, and I really do love that. So he brings Felicity to Star Labs, where she reacquaints herself with the team. Now that Barry has blabbed that she works with Arrow, they both decline to tell Cisco and Caitlin who Arrow really is. They don't tell them that he is Oliver. And Harrison then wheels up, greeting Felicity apparently for the first time. He knows her work well, he speculated she would do great things, and Barry offers to show her his speed. And he's doing so on the treadmill when she starts asking lots of questions, and Harrison assures her Barry is in good hands. So, she's kind of concerned about him. I like seeing that, even though Felicity's not his girlfriend, she is definitely treating him like she is definitely his girlfriend. Like, the way she's just treating him and the way, she's so concerned about him. Very much like his girlfriend, definitely. So I don't know if they're gonna, have some sort of relationship, but because, she's on Arrow right now. However, she could, of course, go over to, if she goes over to the Flash more and more and more, I definitely could see a relationship happening. So if she comes over to the Flash again, I would say that probably a relationship is going to happen at some point. So waiting outside the museum where the diamond is going to be, Eddie tries to explain himself to Joe, who says he doesn't want to know about their relationship. He doesn't want to know what's going on between him and Iris. He doesn't want to know how it's going. He's really upset about it. It's understandable. She didn't tell him, and he's upset that she kept the secret. So then we get back at Jitters. Iris is trying to talk to Barry and Felicity into coming to trivia night to double date with her and Eddie. And Felicity goes to call work and checks in. And Iris tells Barry that Felicity is great and that he should be doing more to get her attention because she obviously came all the way to Central City to see him. I definitely agree with what she's saying there. Look, she came to see him, okay? She didn't have to. She wanted to. She realized that he was okay, and that's why she came to see him. And he should probably get to, take this opportunity to basically go for it. And, if he decide what he wants to do here, and I agree with what Iris is definitely saying there. So, Leonard's in a warehouse where a weapons dealer is showing off some major tech, and first he tries to sell, Leonard on a concentrated flamethrower, but when he says that he needs to slow things down, not heat them up, the man directs him to a gun that freezes things. He says he stole it from Star Labs after the explosion, and Leonard asks him who else knows he took it, and when he says just us, Leonard says just me, pal, and blasts him with the freeze gun, and that was really intense there. So Felicity, Barry, Eddie, and Iris go on their double date, and basically Felicity is running late. She does show up. She's wearing a very revealing dress, definitely a dress she wanted him to see her in. She's the only one who likes Barry's trivia team, which I thought was definitely very interesting. So, it's a very funny scene here, and at the museum, a guide is walking a tour group, including Leonard, through the building, and Leonard stops at the diamond, and the curator makes a phone call. So at Jitters, their team is doing really well in trivia, and their date excuse themselves, and Iris tells Barry Felicity is perfect. What's he waiting for? I agree with that. And in the Star Lab lockdown, where the gun has been stored, Harrison rips Cisco a new one for having allowed the gun to get stolen. Because, of course, Cisco was supposed to protect that gun. I understand why he, didn't, I understand why he's upset. Because Cisco was supposed to protect the gun, and he didn't, so he's saying that he knows how Harrison, feels about weapons. They don't belong at Star Labs, and he tells him to figure out a way to find it. Basically find it. He doesn't care what happened to it. He just wants him to find it, and that's what matters. So Joe responds to the Curator's Call. He'd been told to call if there was anything suspicious that a man, Leonard, had gone through the tour twice. And Joe sees that it's Leonard and calls it in asking for backup. And Barry and Eddie are called away from trivia to respond, and when he arrives, Barry finds that Leonard has frozen over the road using the gun, causing a police car to spin out and almost hit Joe. He heads into a nearby theater, and when the Flash goes to stop him, he starts firing off the weapon at everyone in the building, forcing Flash to dart around, saving them all until he misses one. And again, this really shows Barry he's really upset about this. But of course, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, Barry can't save everyone. He wants to, but he's not going to be able to save everyone. There's going to be some losses, and this was one of them. And that really applies to what Joe said to him last week. Because if you remember, Joe said to him, look, I understand that you want to save people, but you're not going to be able to save everyone. I agree with what he's saying there, definitely. So back at Star Labs, Barry is still injured by the shot he took from Leonard's gun. It slowed him down enough that he's still healing, and that he missed saving the man who died at the museum. And Felicity asks how somebody who never finished high school managed to build a weapon like that. Cisco admits it was him, he created to stop Barry, and I thought this was really interesting. Basically, if Barry came out of the coma and it was a bad guy, because, you know, he didn't know before if Barry was going to be a bad guy and everything. And I think that definitely makes sense, definitely. And it makes sense with what happened with Harrison last week, because basically they knew Barry was coming, we know that, and I feel like they were worried that Barry was going to be a bad guy. He wasn't going to be a good guy, he was going to basically be their demise and was going to hurt them, and they were worried about that. So it definitely makes sense why they did that. I definitely can understand why they did that. So basically, he created, and Barry starts to get very upset at this, but Caitlin points out that the entire faculty they're standing in was built to do good, and it exploded, and he asks why they didn't tell him, and blames Cisco for the man who died. You know, he thinks it's Cisco's fault, because it kind of is, because Cisco was supposed to look over that gun, he didn't, and obviously Barry's upset with him for that. So back at home, Iris confronts Joe about the silent treatment she's been giving him. She's not happy about him giving this to her, which makes sense. Like, he's giving her the silent treatment and she doesn't know why. So he tells her he's not mad, he's upset because he can't totally be focused on the job anymore. That now he has a part of him seeing his partner as Iris's boyfriend, and it puts extra pressure on him. And, you know, the question, you know, of course, what if something happened to Eddie, what would he say to Iris? Because Eddie's now family to him, because now that he's dating Iris, he means a lot more to him. So if something were to happen to Eddie, he would feel very guilty about it. And I definitely agree with what Joe was saying there. And I was happy that that's why he was upset. He wasn't upset because she didn't tell him. He was upset because he truly cares about both of them more than anything. And I thought that was definitely very, very well done. I really enjoyed that, and just really, really good stuff there. So Leonard tells his men that they're going to hit the museum again tonight, and when they object, he tells them that his gun can stop both police and the streak. His men both quit holding a gun to his head, so he can't kill them for doing so, and, you know, definitely you can see that he's got a well-thought-out plan here. So at Starlabs, Felicity goes to see Barry, and I thought this was probably definitely one of the best scenes in the episode. I love this scene. Barry is running himself ragged on the treadmill, and he can't sleep. He's having flashbacks to watching him die, and he says he has to go faster. Felicity tells him it's not his fault, or Cisco's. It's neither of their faults. And Barry says he understands that Cisco didn't trust him. She tells him that, and I agree with what she says here. Team Arrow was not, you know, when he visited Team Arrow, they had been very, very functional. You know, they knew they could work together, and they worked really well. But when they first worked together, they didn't, you know, Felicity didn't trust him. If you remember, her and Oliver didn't even like each other at the start. They argued a lot. She didn't know if she could trust him. So basically that path is lonely, that he shouldn't make it any lonelier than it has to be. Basically telling him, look, your group is bad now, but it's going to get better, and you can be like Team Arrow if you want to be, and I definitely really enjoyed that. And that's kind of like this show, because, you know, a lot of people are saying, oh, you know, the show is a little different from Arrow and everything. If anyone's, you know, not getting used to the show, it's a lot like you know, it's a lot like a TV show. You know, sometimes it takes a little while to get into it, but it gets better and better as it goes on. And The Flash is not like that, but I definitely agree with Felicity saying that give it some time, and then his team's gonna be very good. So at the museum, Leonard blasts through a door with the cold gun and walks up to the diamond, and at Starlab, Cisco has figured out how to ping the cold gun. He needs half an hour to hack a satellite, but Felicity can't do it under a minute. She figures where, you know, basically she can do it under a minute, of course, and I thought that was great, because basically she outsmarted him, and of course, I thought that was definitely really funny, because, of course, what is Felicity always doing on Arrow? She's always looking up stuff for their missions, always looking up information for them. Felicity's so used to this, she can do it under a minute. I thought that was just hilarious, so we could see that she could do that. So she figures out where Leonard is right away near the train station, and they figure out he's probably already got the diamond. So Joe, Eddie, and Barry converge, but Leonard takes out the bottom of the moving train or to force Barry to stave bystanders rather than chasing him. Saying he's seen Barry's weakness, Barry gets everyone cleared off the train and collapses outside of it, where he's blasted with the cold gun. And as Captain Cold, as Cisco named him, is about to finish. I love that Cisco keeps naming the bad guys. I really hope this continues, because I think it's definitely one of the funniest parts of the show, and I definitely really enjoying that. So Cisco shows up with a much bigger prototype cold gun. He scares Leonard off just enough to turn him away, not enough to get him to drop the gun or diamond, before revealing it was actually just the Star vacuum cleaner with lead lights. So basically they defeated him, and I thought that was great. And I gotta say, he was definitely a very menacing villain, and I definitely really enjoyed that. And he was a great villain, definitely. I thought he was probably the best villain we've had on the show so far, but he was definitely really good. So back at Star Labs, Felicity is praising their team. She says she has to get back to hers, and Barry ends up hugging her goodbye. You know, it's a very nice, they say goodbye and everything. You know, was only there temporary, which is sad because I really like seeing Felicity with the team. I really like seeing Felicity work with them. I thought it worked really well, and it was sad to see her go, but, you know, she was only supposed to be there temporarily, and, yeah, basically she was only supposed to be there temporarily, we know this, and I thought that was definitely a very bittersweet scene. And Harrison's praising her, saying she's special. Barry agrees, and after everyone leaves, Harrison tells Cisco not to ever do anything like that again, obviously, because, you know, he really screwed them over. So at the police station, Iris comes see Joe, apologizing again, telling Joe there's nothing he could ever do that would change the way she looks at him. She'll always look at him as her father. She'll always think of him as her father because he cares about her more than anyone. So Joe tells her that Eddie saved his life chasing down Leonard, and Iris agrees. From now on, no more secrets, and she leaves to go see Eddie. So I thought that was really good. And then we get the last scene, until we get the post-credit scene, of course. And basically, Barry comes to see Felicity on the train. She's figured out that it was Iris who doesn't reciprocate. She figured this out right away. And he tells her it's like her and Oliver. And he admits that he, you know, because, you know, there's a lot of unrequited love there. She really loves him, but Oliver's not afraid to, you know, is afraid to admit that he loves her. It's same with Barry and Iris. Unrequited love. You know, she's dating Eddie, but Barry does have feelings for Iris. That confirms that he does. However, I do feel that Barry and Felicity is more possible to happen than Barry and Iris, in my opinion. And he admits he's afraid it will change everything if he tells Iris. She says it will, but maybe that's not such a bad thing. And they agree they're not perfect, that they're perfect for each other, but that they're sitting pining for people they can't have. And they agree that if the other ever needs them, they'll run as fast as they can. And they end up kissing. So Barry speeds off, and I definitely think that, you know, she's definitely going to tell Oliver about this. Oliver, I don't think is going to be happy when he finds this out, because, you know, he really does like Felicity. I'm pretty sure he does, at least. I'd like to think that Oliver has feelings for Felicity. And they kissed and everything, and I was very surprised that that happened. I definitely really enjoyed that scene. Thought that was very well done. And I'm definitely interested in seeing where that's going to go. So then we get to the post-credit scene, and we see that Leonard is not done yet. His arc is not done. He goes to see Mick, who is an old partner of his and a pyromaniac, with the flamethrower he'd rejected, saying that to function and start in Central City, they needed a new kind of team. So my thing here is that his story is not over yet. He's going to be the big villain now, and the two of them are going to try to take down the, you know, this city, basically. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what's going to happen there. And unfortunately, we don't get new Flash episodes till November 10th, which is really sad, but I love this episode. Thought this was the best episode of the season. And there are a couple of things to talk about, first of all. First of all, do you think that Felicity and Barry will eventually get together? I could definitely see it happening. I could even see this happening maybe because, you know, this was the beginning of the Arrow versus Flash crossover. So maybe this is going to lead to Arrow being pissed, you know, Oliver being pissed off because he's stealing Felicity, who we do know that he does care about, and maybe he and Felicity, like, get together, and maybe, you know, Oliver blames it on Barry or something. Maybe something happens between Oliver and Felicity. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens in Arrow tomorrow. Maybe something's going to happen in Arrow that's going to definitely affect them. I definitely feel that this is going to affect him and Oliver's relationship, as them kissing. That's definitely going to affect it. Because I do feel that deep down, Oliver really does care about Felicity. We've seen it before. And now, as far as Joe goes, I really like seeing that Joe, wants to help, you know, basically wants to, you know, thinks of Eddie and Iris as his own, you know, thinks of Eddie as his own children and really cares about him, and I thought that was great to see. Really shows that Joe is a great father to Iris. I definitely really enjoyed that. My other thing here is, what is going to happen? You know, I really like seeing the whole thing with Cisco. I like that we got a little bit more Cisco in this episode. You know, we found out that he stole that weapon and everything. And, I wonder, there were no flashbacks in this episode, which was interesting. I was thinking we were going to get more flashbacks, but we didn't. Do you think we're going to get some Cisco flashbacks? I feel like when we come back, we're going to get some Cisco flashbacks, because Cisco is really the only character we don't know that much about. We know he's a college, you know, we know he's a high school dropout. We know he creates weapons, but I feel like we just need to find out a little bit more about him. We know everything there is to know about Barry at this point. We know pretty much everything there is to know about Caitlin, even, because we know the whole thing with her husband dying, so we know everything that really we need to know about her. We don't really know much about Cisco. Cisco's the only character that we're kind of in the dark about. And of course, Harrison is very mysterious just because the show is making him out to be. So I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen there as well. But that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Did you like seeing Felicity on The Flash? Do you feel that she actually works better on this show? Don't get me wrong. I love her on Arrow. I love her character on Arrow. I think she's one of the best characters on the show by far. Definitely one of the hottest women on TV right now. I'll say that. Definitely. But, I definitely loved seeing that, and I thought it was just such a great episode. Let me know if you guys saw this episode. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for tonight's episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.